From WDWNT, the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is ParksCenter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ParksCenter. I'm Rob Whiteside. Got a great panel with us tonight, starting with Patrick Hackett.
Chimichangas.
There they are, Jill Diffendahl.
Hello.
Kamila Sanders.
Hi, everyone.
And Mr. Pete Carney.
Steve Acco, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you all.
There he is. Hey, Pete, we've missed you, man. So we're going to talk about
you guys.
We're going to talk about March Madness at the end here, but we do want to give you guys some news, including something that happened about the Disney parks and Disneyland. And there's this thing that's happening, and I'm trying to figure it out. So we'll go here. And the Disneyland expansion. It's very exciting stuff. I looked at this and basically started to cry. I'm really excited about this, but at the same time, this is not a final official thing. There is this project that they call Disneyland Forward. There's a whole website about it if you all want to look at it. It says, imagine the possibilities. So it's basically going, hey, you know what? We're trying to get public on our side to say, let's get all this approved and be able to expand these parks in Anaheim. They're talking about an expansion of both parks, not a third park as was originally rumored, but an expansion of the two parks across the street. So you'd have to cross a bridge, but they've done this before. That's not a big deal. They're showing us a lot of lands that possibly could be coming to this, including the things that they've already got ready for other places like Frozen and Tangled and Peter Pan coming, or also to California Adventure, Zootopia, Toy Story Land, and Tron Coaster. So this is pretty exciting stuff. Then there was a little bit of a rumor that there might be a Black Panther themed land as we look closer at this and take a close-up look at this map that looks like there might be the entrance to Wakanda here. So a lot of stuff to unpack. I want to start with Kamila because you got a big smile on your face. Are you thinking this is going to happen? Are you excited? What's up?
I mean, wow. I think the website looks amazing. The proposals look amazing. It all just looks really, really cool. I will say this. Anybody who knows anything about the history of Disneyland knows it is a very contentious relationship between the city of Anaheim and the Walt Disney Company. And so I think even though those of us who are fans of Disney saw that and got excited, I actually think that website was very much geared towards the Anaheim City Council and the residents of the city of Anaheim, who don't always view Disney as the happiest place on earth. And it's a really interesting history. So I think it'll be very interesting. I think to look at the fine print on that website, if you go to the leading together and, the other pages away from the proposed lands, it's a lot about, what they think they can do for the city of Anaheim. And so I think that website and this proposal is very much about trying to get the residents there on their side. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, Patrick?
So it looks like it's a lot of cloned attractions, and that's what Bob C. really likes the best. Hi, Bob. I always assume that you're watching. Cloned attractions, a lot of water there, so I know that Kamila will be happy with the amount of boats that will be coming in. I think it's utterly ridiculous that we're talking about an expansion over there when we have been champing at the bit for a fifth park, when you see Universal expanding, and there is definitely going to be a demand for vacations. There's so much that Disney has in terms of intellectual property, and a fifth gate in Orlando to me makes so much more sense than this.
No, I agree 100% with that, Jill.
I mean, I don't know that I feel they're mutually exclusive, but that's, I don't know that that's the point here. To me, the point here is that Disneyland came charging out of the gate with this if the gate is like the gate between COVID and post-COVID. Disneyland is like, we know this is the time. We know Anaheim is hurting because so much of their economy is based on tourism around Disneyland. Anaheim has now spent a year of no Disneyland, feel polished, and it looks awesome. And they are hoping that they can win enough hearts and play on that whole, God, I've missed Disneyland for the past year. I've been hurt by the fact that I've been financially hurt by the fact that Disneyland has been closed for a year. People are a little bit more empathetic towards the Walt Disney Company now in that area than they typically are. That's what this is about. That's why they're not saying that's why all the fine print, some of the big print is like, we're not making any specific plans right now. We're just trying to let you know that we want to do something. And please just let us do something. That's what this says. And I think they're trying to get as much, play off as much capital of that sort of like emotional and financial capital as they can right now, as looking at being, hey, Anaheim, we're actually going to help you come out of this, instead of being like, hey, Anaheim, we're against you, we want something from you. It's, no, we're doing this together and we can help you.
I would like 1 gallon of that Kool-Aid and you can serve me more. Peter.
Yeah.
I think this is an ongoing, just another great, Anaheim had the last move in the chess match, right? So it was Disney's turn. They were feeling out their moves, and I think this was their next move in their chess match that they played with the city and with the state of California. I think everything that the panel said so far, I think, is pretty accurate. I also think, obviously, playing, tugging on the heartstrings, it's been closed. Joe makes a lot of good points. But also, like we've all said, this is kind of plug and play. This is stuff that was already kind of in other parks around the world, or already proposed for other parks around the world, or even for Anaheim. So this can all be like moved around and taken. So if the city's like, okay, listen, you can have this parking lot, or you can do this, but you can't touch this, or you have to pay this tax code, I feel like Disney can be like, well, all right, but you tell everybody that they're not getting Wakanda because that's where we were going to put it. So instead, we're just going to put in some shops in a hotel, and now you don't get Wakanda. Sorry, tell the people yourself. So I think that's another move in the chess match with the city and the state with Disney. And I mean, timing is everything. And this was, I think, like, as Jill said, perfect timing. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And this, I hate to say this because I love Disney excitement and I love hype and getting super excited for stuff. I feel like we should probably keep our excitement at bay for now. This is sadly, I think, just a political move.
Man,
for now.
Can I say one more thing though? Is
say 2 more things.
So when you go to the first page of that website, like, it really is impressive and it's exciting. But when you start to read what they want to bring to some of those lands, Disney, I need you to stop giving us restaurants and castles, because I don't want to pay $100 a person to go into your tacky little castle that is not worth it. I need you to do something else inside of that castle. And I'm done. That's the one thing I kept noticing is like, oh, look at this land and a restaurant. Oh, look at this land and a restaurant. Like, stop with that. Do something else. Find something else.
Hotels, shops are not as exciting as other stuff. I totally agree. What's the castle? Is it France that actually you can go underneath the castle? There's like the dragon animatronic.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's France, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think something like that would be cool. But whatevs.
No, I totally. And Kamila, you know what? I think Patrick would award you points for that. All right, so let's move on to talking about Disneyland that actually exists. Disneyland's opening up. I don't know if you heard. I've been telling everybody. They're getting everything ready. Disneyland is extending their tickets. Obviously, they've canceled the annual pass program, but they're extending tickets if you already had unused tickets. They've got California is now vaccinating all Californians 16 and up, so that's good. You got they're testing Paradise Pier. They're testing the coaster over there. You've got this little video that they did, which was awesome, about the cast members returning to work, and that was kind of cool. And then you have that they've set their guidelines up. But look at this. Again, Universal is going to beat them to the punch. April 16th. They're like, hey, man, we're going to open before you do. Meanwhile, Disneyland is over here and going, hey, look, we're testing rides. That's good. See you at the end of the month, but we're testing rides. So I want to start with Pete on this one because I feel like you had to bat cleanup last time. How are you feeling about all this?
Hey, this is exciting. I am happy for all the Californians out there. This is super, well, the Californians and Rob. I'm very excited for all of you. You deserve a park. I don't know what I would be doing if the Orlando parks weren't opening until now. Like, literally, it's made up a huge part of the last 9 months of my life. I'm happy you get to return home. That's amazing. I love that Universal was like, oh, we're gonna open right before you, kind of like here. That's fun. But yeah, congratulations to everyone in California. I mean, I don't have much else to say except for enjoy it, have fun. You get to go home. I'm super happy for all of you. And once you're over it and it's super crowded, come on down to Orlando. We're happy to have
you. Jill?
I think, yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's interesting. I watched that TikTok video, which is not a thing that I typically do. And maybe just 'cause
don't
it
lie.
was embedded in the article on our website. But like, you knew what was coming. The whole time you knew what was coming as the cast members kind of, do the pass the phone thing. And I knew Mickey Mouse was going to beat the end. And still when I saw him, I got like choked up, like, oh my God, it's here, it's coming. Mickey's coming back to Disneyland. But I don't know. It will be interesting, like now that they're going to be able to open, by the time they open, they'll be in the next tier up, so their capacity can increase, but at the same time, they're still limiting the California residents, and at the same time, there are no more annual passes. I think this is going to be a really interesting thing to kind of watch how all of this plays out and what crowds look like and what kind of appetite there is for California residents buying day tickets. I'm completely not surprised that Universal kind of intentionally, like, I think they were like sitting there this whole time, like waiting for the right moment to like pounce and say, oh, you know what, we're opening 2 weeks before Disney does. I think they've been probably expecting that all along, and Universal has demonstrated that they are way more agile about being able to reopen their parks, and the fact that they've been holding a festival now for, I don't know, a few weeks at least, probably puts the right people in the right places to be able to do that. So, I mean, if I were out there, I'd be hitting Universal in the 2 weeks between when they open and when Disney opens, and then I'd hit Disney. So, get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, Patrick.
Also, I just want to add congrats to the CMs, too, because I know a lot of CMs, I just found out a few that are here, just got their callbacks literally over the last few days. So super excited for them and all those CMs getting their callbacks. That's got to be so exciting. And, I mean, obviously we'll help you out financially and in your life. So that's great, fantastic news.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Patrick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob. Sorry.
I just want to see if Jill's going to be the first person in line for the Secret Life of Pets off the leash. It's amazing that Disneyland is opening. It has been a really rough road, and Pete highlighted it perfectly. The cast members getting back to work is what's most important here. We'll see how it goes with Californians only. I just can't wait that all the parks are open again, and once again, the sun will never set on a Disney park. I think that's what we need back in this world as we start moving slowly, hopefully carefully, towards a post-COVID world.
Yeah. Kamila?
I will just say Universal did something really important that Disney has yet to do, which is announce when tickets will go on sale. Which I think for Universal, I said it was April 8th. Disney has not done that, and it's created a lot of anxiety for those of us in the travel business, but also for people who are chomping at the bit to get those tickets. I have a lot of friends and family who are in California. You're already seeing people finding, old unused tickets, thinking that will give them the edge. I really believe it's going to be like the Hunger Games, and I wish Disney would hopefully sometime soon give us a date of when they will let us know tickets will go on sale, and not do that thing of, oh, they're on sale right now, good luck. I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, meanwhile, I have gone out of control here. Please stand by.
Was I just struck by lightning?
You were just struck by lightning. How did it feel? Was it good? I just wanted to make sure that we were all still awake. But yeah, so let me ask you this about Universal, though, because I don't understand this. They have not ended their annual passes at Universal in California like Disney has. Mm-hmm. They have, and they don't need reservations for the park. Is that right?
I think that's...
Oh, it's YOLO.
Well,
Universal.
It's show up and find out the parks are at capacity.
It works for them here. It's going to work for them there. And so... I have a story about Universal and the California residency situation that I will share with Wiggs in the post show. But it was sort of an interesting little caveat that I'll tell a little story of something an exchange we had with Universal customer service about that. So.
Oh, that's fun.
Remind me in the post show.
All right, so let's move on to something that could be controversial. I don't know. I've had conversations about this before. Is that Disneyland is going to start another restaurant selling alcohol. So Blue Bayou, it's been announced that when they come back, as per guest request, they're going to be selling alcohol at Blue Bayou. Disneyland was kind of the last dry park. And then, then Oga's Cantina came in and they started pouring there. And this could be the beginning of opening it up everywhere. Pete seems super excited about this. So let me start with Patrick.
I have a sincere apology that I need to send out to Marcy Smith. Back in the day when when Be Our Guest started serving alcohol, she said it was a slippery slope that would lead to alcohol all over the Magic Kingdom style parks. I thought she was being ridiculous. So Marcy from like 10 years ago, I'm really sorry about that. I don't know how I feel about this. As somebody who likes to drink, I think it's a great idea. As somebody who now has a 20-month-old daughter, a 20-month-old daughter, I just want to make sure that there's some places where kids could be around without having to worry about people completely smashed. I think the Magic Kingdom parks have a bit more class, and as long as we're not having beer carts out there and kiosks selling it, I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pete. Let's hear from Jill.
Oh.
Yeah. He got to me again.
I don't know. I don't understand why people have such an issue with this. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's such a big deal. I understand it's a theme park where you bring children, but it's also a theme park where adults like to go and have fun. And sometimes that means sitting and having a drink somewhere and just enjoying yourself. And I don't know why it has to be like, I don't know why we have to punish everyone because some people just don't like it. I don't have any problem with this. I don't want to see beer carts like the way they have in Disney Springs all over the Magic Kingdom, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know why this is a problem.
Yeah. It's not funny 3 times, so Pete?
Oh, I thought for sure you were going to be all right, so listen, obviously people see that I'm excited, and it's not like I'm like, hey, put alcohol in the parks, the more alcohol, the better. That is not my take at all. Actually, when they said that alcohol was going to be at Galaxy's Edge, and we talked about it on this show, I was against it. I said, hey, that's a real shame. This was like the last park that really was, a dry park. If you wanted alcohol, it's not hard to get. You walk across the promenade to DCA, or you walk right next door to Ballast Point in downtown Disney. You had options. And the 2 times that I went to Disneyland, I didn't have a problem. Like in the middle of the day, like you say, it's a short walk or a monorail ride. You can just walk out of the park, grab a drink for lunch, come back in. It's the same distance walking half the way around Epcot. So it's not like it's a huge hike. However, since Oga started serving and since every other Disney park pretty much has alcohol now, I don't see why it's a big deal anymore. And also, I think it is a new, sadly, and I'm not praising this, but it's a new era in the world of Disney parks, let alone, obviously, all theme parks serve alcohol, but in the Disney parks era, where you have to make money. It's a publicly traded company. Obviously, we know everything's because money, and we've made way too many cutbacks, and I'm not happy about a lot of the cutbacks we made. But if there's a way to make more money, and people are going to sit down at a restaurant and want to order a $12, $14, $15 beverage, and people will pay it, you can get away with that. Why not increase your checks? Why not bring that in? Also, it's going to help the servers. It also saves the people from taking that trip out to Ballast Point. If let's say, or you're with kids, or you're disabled, and whatever the case may be, you got to have a drink in the park now. It was already happening at Oga's, so to me, this is not even an issue. As big as a deal as it was when it first came in at Oga's. You already have an alcohol option in the park. This is another one. It's at a sit-down restaurant. It is what it is.
Yep.
And now there's another reason to go back to the Blue Bayou. I mean, no one was going back after their first visit. Now you have a reason.
Come on.
I will just say I don't mind it at the Blue Bayou. I hope it doesn't expand too much beyond that in the Magic Kingdom. And the reason I say that is, when I'm at Disneyland, I go back and forth between DCA and Disneyland a lot, and I'm usually there on a weekend. And DCA, you see it, the alcohol, it's pretty pervasive, particularly on the weekends, I think it's fair to say. And I do think, I don't think it impacts or hinders the experience so much. But I mean, you do see people who have probably had one too many. And so I don't want that, to be honest, for Disneyland or the Magic Kingdom. So I hope they limit it. And then the only other thing I will say is, it does impact planning. Like, I'll tell families that have small kids, Epcot is a great park for your family. I would avoid it on the weekend. And, you know, DCA is kind of a similar situation when you can. So, you know, I will just say I do think it's a fine line. I hope that they limit it and don't expand too much beyond, you know, Oga's Blue Bayou. I agree with Patrick. I don't want to see it everywhere like it is in DCA.
Yeah. Speaking of
to me, this also.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead,
I was
Peter.
going to say, to me, this almost comes down to, it's not an alcohol issue. It is a server and a Disney security issue. As long as your server is not over-serving the guest, and as long as Disney security can handle that very rare occurrence where someone gets bombed over like one sangria or a mint julep at the Blue, you know, how much can you drink during one meal? And I know there's some lightweights out there, but like, yeah, that's why you have Disney security. That's why you have servers and managers and the cast members. I mean, no one's getting bombed at Disneyland. And if they are bombed, they came in that way. Let's be real.
No, you're probably right. Nobody's getting bombed at Disneyland, but where they are getting bombed is the Food and Wine Festival. Yay! Okay, so the Food and Wine Festival is coming back, and all that we know here really is that the dates and that it's going to be dropping a taste of from the list. So, Jill, what kind of a difference do you think that makes? What can we expect without it being a taste of?
So when we got Taste of this in 2020, we got Taste of translated to scaled back offerings. It translated to fewer food booths. It translated to no concerts at the American Gardens Theater. It translated to none of the like culinary demonstrations and events and things like that. So if dropping Taste of means we get those things back, then I'm super excited because some of those things are things that really make those festivals special. And the Taste of festivals have been good. I think they're better than having no festivals, but at the same time, they feel like they're missing things. My issue being this announcement that came out about Food and Wine doesn't specifically say any of those things are coming back. So I think it might kind of hint at we're getting more food booths back, but that's kind of it. So I don't know if removing Taste of means we're going to get back all the things that we lost when Taste of started. I certainly hope we do, but as of right now, we have no real evidence for or against that.
Gotcha. Patrick Hackett, Papa Joe says that we're going to be able to be eating barbecue with each other by July 4th. So does that mean that we can also eat to the beat?
Oh, man. This was so exciting for me because I booked my first trip since September of 2019. So I'm very excited that the expanded Food and Wine comes through my trip. I always love Food and Wine. I'm hopeful that, once again, this is kind of showing us the inklings of the post-COVID world. The Taste of is gone. It might be a full-fledged festival. I'm excited and hopeful, but still, you know, holding back my expectations. I hope it's fully expanded. I hope we get some new dishes because most of the Taste of was repeats. We've had the same dishes for years and years. Like, let's inject some real new life into this. And July 15th to November 20th, I can't believe there's never going to be Diet Epcot anymore. It is all festivals all the time.
Yeah, let me ask Kamila, do a lot of people schedule their travel around this, and then did that change last year?
Not that I see, but I will say I think it will be exciting for a lot of people who have trips around this time in July, August, September, when maybe there wouldn't have been something, that they will have this. But I mean, I agree with Patrick. It's interesting now because I feel like you're almost in like single digits. It's like literally just a few days where there's not a festival at Epcot. So it's just year-round festivals now.
Yeah. Pete?
I have a few things. One, I don't mind them starting the festival early this year. I don't want this to happen all the time, but there's not much else to do at Epcot right now. Most of the park is under construction. There's only a few rides. So you need something for the people to do. And if you only have the limited booths that are normally there, 24/7, 365, those lines are going to be massive. So why not add more, food booths and things for people to do? they got to stand in line somewhere and do something. And if you're going to not bring back entertainment, and most of your rides are down or not opened or being refurbed, I mean, like, there's 4 rides at Epcot. Let's be real. Like, there's nothing else to do except walk around the World Showcase. Now, it's not fair to call this the Food and Wine Festival without Eat to the Beat, in my opinion. It makes up, we're kind of silly. We've been paying the full price, and by we, I mean whoever is out there, annual pass holders, we've been doing the same thing for all the parks, but Epcot has never lowered their ticket prices, and they've had no entertainment for any of these festivals, and it's only been a taste of. So it's almost like we've told them, like, hey, we'll still pay full price. You don't have to bring in all these amazing entertainment acts, and that's what I'm afraid of, is I really hope they bring back Eat to the Beat. It's one of my favorite concert series. I know we make fun of all the artists that are there, but it really adds something to the park. It gives you a reason to want to come back. Also, like, if I don't see Boyz II Men once a year, I just feel like
I'm with you, Pete. I was like, who made fun of Boyz II Men? You better not.
No, yeah. I mean, that will literally make me come to the end of my road. So here I am on bended knee, begging Disney to please bring back Eat to the Beat. And if they do, then I'd be happy, and I'll make love to you. Okay, thank you.
Wow, that was a lot. So we want to touch on this briefly. There was news that there is talk of making vaccine passports likely coming to the United States, so that people can have credentials that say, yes, I'm vaccinated. You should totally let me into wherever I want to go. And then Governor Ron said, hey, not in my house, and said that no matter how this shakes out, that it's it's not going to be something he's going to allow in Florida. Kamila, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I think the most likely place we will probably definitely see some type of program like this is for international travel, and also for cruisers. Those of you who like to go on cruises, I think it makes sense that other countries that frankly do not have the access to the vaccine like we do, it's going to take them much longer. And so I think it's fair that they're going to want to know that they're keeping their country safe. And so I think that's where we're probably the most likely to see it. I think a lot of people are going to want to get it, but I mean, who knows? It could show up in some form here in the U.S. as well. I think it's kind of less likely, but we'll see.
Yeah. Patrick, I feel like you were the first one to get vaccinated on our team here. What do you think?
I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and private businesses should be able to do what they want to keep their customers safe. And you can throw it to someone else.
Jill.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the question. And I think I think it's too early to say. I think this will definitely be a thing in the short term because everyone else seems to be doing it. I mean, other countries, like all of the EU is doing it. Countries I think you're going to need I think Kamila is absolutely right about international flights, because I think there is still so much kind of residual trauma from the fact that the reason coronavirus spread globally so quickly is due to international travel. So I think that's also the thing that is going to be the thing we hold on to longest in terms of safety measures is international travel, where people are absolutely going to be required to present a vaccine passport and I don't think that's going to be the airlines. I think that will be country restrictions on allowing international travelers. However, I also think that, airlines are private businesses. There's always that concern of, gosh, if 6 months from now and a handful of people still aren't vaccinated and one of those people gets COVID and they trace it back to a flight on American or Southwest or whatever airline, and that's going to blow up in the news and be huge bad PR for them, they're going to try to prevent that. And they're going to prevent that through requiring vaccine passports for domestic flights as well, because they are private businesses and they can say you can't be on our planes unless you have a vaccination. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know that I think it's going to happen for any long period of time. I think, 3 years from now, I doubt that will be the case, but I think in the shorter term, it will be the case as a way for businesses to keep any kind of bad PR associated with any kind of, residual COVID outbreaks that we're going to still see for a couple years yet, even with vaccinations, because there are people that don't want to get vaccinated and they're going to get COVID at some point and it's going to blow up in the news.
Yeah. Pete?
Whether you're for or against the passports, I just don't know where I'm going to put it because I have my U.S. passport, I have my passport to Food and Wine, my holiday festival, my Festival of the Arts passport, my Flower and Garden passport. So, I mean, I'm just running out. I'm going to have to bring back cargo pants just to hold on to all my passports. And honestly, I'm all for cargo pants, so let's bring back the passport. Let's do the passport thing. Why not?
Yeah.
The more stamps I can get, as long as they don't start with stamps and then switch to stickers. That's where I draw the line, and that's where I'll leave it right there.
No, that's some solid feedback. Yeah.
I like bringing back cargo pants. I think it's a good idea, Pete. Me and you, we could lead this trend.
Okay. All right.
you.
It's a lot of solid information. Let's move on to why we're all here. We're going to talk a little bit of. And a flawless execution is had by all. There was nothing weird that just happened there at all. No need to worry about what that noise was. We're all fine. Everyone's fine. It's all good. So we had. So we. Wow. Okay.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
You're all right, Patrick? You okay?
I'm perfect.
Good deal. Good deal. So anyway, we finished off the madness this week. It was the last 32, and they whittled it down to the 16, the 8, the 4, and the 2, and we got a number 1 winner. So, last week when we talked about this, we didn't have Pete with us, and Pete you were there in the trenches. So, as all this was going down, I feel like you got bullied a little bit. I feel like as a ParksCenter fan, like a fellow companion, I wanted to reach out and like get your back. We had your back the whole way, man.
I know. I appreciate it. I was watching the shows, that I wasn't on here because I was on the other one, and I appreciate you guys having my back. It is tough, and I know some of my choices didn't make. I know a few of you happy in certain spots. But I think that's what I wanted to bring this year, and I was happy that I was at least allowed onto that panel, is kind of for the people. And also, we talk about it all the time, is that, like, certain people can make a topic, or, I mean, not a topic, but, like, a certain, in this case, backstory, run far in the tournament when it definitely doesn't deserve to. So I kind of wanted to shut that down, or at least give my piece on why I think it's ridiculous that a certain thing goes so far. We've all talked about the Tom bullying. And I wouldn't stand for that. Absolutely not. And maybe I perhaps gave a little taste of his own medicine. Pleasure Island made it to the championship, which was not my original intention. But, man, it was fun to watch Tom sweat and have a few things overturned. I won't talk too much because I was there on the show, but you guys can talk and I would love to hear it. And then I'll just throw out, dumb comments like I always do.
Patrick, because you are wearing the jacket, you are ready to talk. No matter how difficult it was for you to get it on,
I don't know why I didn't hit mute. I just went for it.
Talk about the matchups. Any surprises here? Anything that had you screaming at your TV?
Honestly, I'm gonna take the fans to task because I think Tom was right. I said it last week. I think Blizzard Beach has the best backstory. I think it's ridiculous that it's wasted on a water park, but Blizzard Beach has an amazing backstory, and I was really bummed when it got voted out. I thought that really could have went a little bit further than that. I think it would have taken out. No, because PI came from behind on Pete's back. And then gets smashed by the Tower of Terror from Tokyo Disney Sea, which honestly, entering anything from Tokyo Disney Sea in here is unfair. It's a different level than what we're dealing with. They're playing chess while we're all playing checkers.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, Jill?
Okay, so I need to take Patrick to task for taking the fans to task. Because listen, it is the thing that motivates, and I think this is a fundamental flaw of March Madness. What motivates the fans to vote is whether they have that attraction or resort or whatever in this case in their bracket. And if they have it in their bracket, they're going to call in to vote for it. They're not going to call in to vote for what they think is the best. So like between all of this stuff, like people aren't if people could just call in to vote for what they thought was the best backstory, this tournament would have gone completely differently. But there is no motivation for people to do that unless that backstory also happens to be in their assigned bracket. So we're not creating this to be a bracket at the end of the day that actually winds up turning out the best backstory in any Disney park. It's designed to have the fans vote so that they can get more points and win the bracket and get core bucks. So it's you can't fault the fans for their role in any of this because that's not what they're voting for. That's not what they're motivated to vote for. We specifically give them motivation to vote for not the best thing.
Yeah.
But they can vote for anything. They can't. I just have a clarification thing. Obviously, they're going to vote for what they have in their brackets, but they can vote for something they like at any point along the way. Let's say, like, they were knocked out early. They can call it.
But they only have so many votes. They have they only have one vote per round. Or no, one vote per night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One vote per night.
I think we saw that towards the end with the us trying to take Tom to the cleaners. Don't get me wrong, too. Just I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Blizzard Beach is freaking amazing. It really is. But the minute Tom said, I think this should win the whole tournament, something went off in the back of my head that we can't let this happen. Yeah. So a little bit of an apology for me. Just from years past March Madness, I get these PTSD flashbacks. Sorry, Kamila, go ahead.
I mean, I don't have that much to add. The only thing I will say, I felt Galaxy's Edge deserved a little more, I don't know, conversation, respect. And then the other thing I will say is it is really tough to be the original in this tournament because so much of what advanced the backstories was, the Paris Disneyland version of Big Thunder or, the Paris Disneyland version of, Haunted Mansion or whatever. Like, so it's like if you're the original, you just get no love, no respect. And if you're, a different version of something else that came first, and of course you can improve and make it more unique. So I don't know, that was the only thing that I noticed is it was a lot of like the evolved version of a ride that existed, but the original just kind of got trashed.
Yeah, I'd like to.
What would be great is if someone could make some improvements to make this March Madness run a little smoother, a little more organized, and a cleaner format. I wish someone took some time.
I have developed 8 rules, so you have to pardon me looking at my phone, for the March Madness. Do we want to go with this now, or do we want to give it to the Wigs?
Your call.
Okay. Yeah, let's save it for the Wigs. I think if you're a Wig and you get the post show, you can hear my 8 rules for improving March Madness, one of which I just wrote from Jill now.
Well, I will tell you, though, that I feel like we already nominated you and brought you in as commissioner for next year. So I feel like that's already locked. You're locked, man. I mean, again, you're dressed for the occasion. Fantastic ideas. So
flawless change too, just flawless.
Yeah, I do want to talk about this though, Kamila. You mentioned it, and again, it could be the fanboy in me about Star Wars because I know that Nick is a fan, but they begrudgingly voted Star Wars Galaxy's Edge through to the 32, and then Mysterious Island went from a 30 to 5 whooping over Galaxy's Edge. Is this? I just don't think this is right. I mean, I get that there's some apprehension about it.
Do you know who that 5 vote was?
You.
Your boy.
Thank you, Pete. But, they kind of flipped on, because in the first one they were like, oh, that backstory is too complicated. And then in this one they were like, oh, the backstory is too simple. It's like, which is it?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And then Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor over Mystic Manor, like
Please.
I mean, like so Monsters
No,
Inc. Laugh
Haunted
Floor,
Mansion.
right?
Whoa.
Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor annihilated
Oh,
Haunted
right.
Mansion, and then Mystic Manor beat it 35-0. I mean, they were so excited about Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor being better than the Haunted Mansion. That one bothers me too.
I didn't think of it until Kamila pointed it out. It's like, oh, hey, we had this existing ride, existing system with a story that we've built, and you just come and make it better? Yeah, that doesn't seem right. The combination of Thunder Mesa and Phantom Manor is great, but Kamila makes an excellent point.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
No, that's
It's not hard to do when you just ripped off what already existed. I could do that too.
Well, and to that point, Tower of Terror went through, the original Tower of Terror went through, and then so did the Tower of Terror in Tokyo, the Harrison Hightower version. And honestly, I feel like that they're both pretty good stories. But here's the thing that gets me about the backstory to Tower of Terror is I understand it going in. You don't have to explain it to me after the fact. We all talked about that, like Olivia's and places like that, we love the backstory. I love the idea. Yeah. But you didn't have to explain it to me because the attraction explained it to me already, and that's the thing I think should have been more of a factor in some of this stuff.
I agree,
that was basically
and
my factor for a lot of this. Sorry, Kamila, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's what I liked about Galaxy's Edge so much, because I'm not really a Star Wars person. I've just barely seen the movies, like very recently. But when I first went to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, like I knew what Batuu was. I knew all these things because you could kind of grasp it as you were going. And I feel like if you have to, do all this research and reading, then, I mean, what's the point of the backstory? Because most people aren't going to get that. So.
And there's even a stronger backstory. Go ahead, Jill.
Like, then Pleasure Island shouldn't be and should never have made it out of the first round because you could have walked around Pleasure Island and learned jack about, unless you stopped to read those little plaques, you would have had zero idea what the backstory of Pleasure Island was. But I think Pleasure Island absolutely deserved to be in the finals for this. I think it's an amazing backstory, and I think I loved the fact, and I think Blizzard Beach does this too, where it's not just, you don't just have one thing with one backstory, like the Tower of Terror in any iteration. You have an entire group of things that all have this interwoven backstory, and to me, I think that takes it up a notch. That elevates it beyond just, okay, we put in one backstory for one attraction and it's not tied to anything else. And I'm sorry, but the whole you wouldn't have C if you didn't have the Tower of Terror in Tokyo. You had C before Disney Sea ever existed. So don't give me this story that if you didn't have the tower in Tokyo, you wouldn't have C, because C has existed for years before Tokyo Disney Sea was ever built. So it's just, I got really frustrated at some of the arguments because they were not valid. And I'm sorry, but when one person on the panel is saying, well, this is the best backstory, then why are we even having the conversation about what the best backstory is if you've already made a decision and no one else can disagree with you, and you tell them no and you tell them they're wrong when they make a different choice?
Yeah, Pete, there were a ton of times where you were told you were in the wrong, and I feel like that you get an opinion, right?
You were booed. There were times where you were booed, Pete. It was not cool.
Booed.
He also did push Wolf.
So yeah, okay. Sometimes I just walk into rooms and I'm booed, so it wasn't a big deal. That's the thing, and that's why I kind of made a point to Tom saying I'd like to be on there for one of them, because I just wanted someone to kind of be like, all right, enough is enough. And even if there was a way to prove I was wrong, which obviously this is an opinion-based panel, I still think it's fair, and I still think there's an audience out there. And I got a lot of messages, so shout out to everybody who sent me an email or a Twitter or an Instagram message, because they were like, yeah, way to stand up for what you believe in that bracket and why and this works here. I think it's the whole point of March Madness. I think that's what makes it fun, is having different opinions. And I definitely, if you're not a Wigs member, you should join, because Patrick has great rules to kind of, I would say, mitigate Tom's influence over the panel. Let's put it that way. Also, just a fun fact: Seaspiracy on Netflix, nothing to do with the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. You're just going to want to never eat fish again. So just don't waste your time.
I want to say this, and I think we talked about this last time, that I could tell Tom was ready to sway when he said, okay, so I'll start. Like, because if he sets that tone, it's going to be hard for anybody to go, I'm not really sure I agree with what you just said, especially if it was something from overseas that, Eric Wolf had never been to, or, so it makes it tough if you've already had that big, basically it's like having a high school debate and only one person gets to debate and then we ask everybody what they think. So I go ahead.
My favorite part of that is when he threw to Nick first, and Nick was trying to appease the boss, and he got it wrong. It was utterly amazing to me. It was just great. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll say this now. And Tom went the opposite way. It was beautiful.
I will say one more thing about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and be done with it at this point, but there is a special on Disney Plus that it's a fluff piece, but it's about a 90-minute piece. It has like Keegan-Michael Key and Kaylee Cuoco and a few other people on it talking. Oh, Neil Patrick Harris. Galaxy's Edge Adventure Awaits. And it's like a 90-minute, like basically it was like a commercial for Galaxy's Edge, and in it they talk about the backstories that we didn't even know, or I didn't know about, because the person who runs the droid depot apparently took like Captain Rex and retrofitted him for Oga as part of like a favor or deal to to make him DJ Rex, and
Kevin
I'm like,
from
wow,
Rhode Island did that. That's impressive.
That's a quality joke.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's I feel like there's even more backstory, but I do think a lot of the backstory is there already. I think that just because of some promises broken about aliens being there and the gamification of the land and things like that aren't there yet, that could still be there someday, but aren't there yet. That there's a little bit more hate put towards it. But I think if you're separating the attraction and or the land from the backstory, I really think that backstory deserved to have gone much further, at least into the 8, and that's the end of my speech on that one. But I feel like it should have gone further too, Kamila. So let's talk about the 8. Let's talk about this final 8, and this is it, man. I mean, I know we've had like 5, 6, 7, 82 weeks of March Madness, and it all comes down to this. So this 8 was the Tower of Terror, which I don't disagree with there, and then Pleasure Island up here. So again, there was a lot of fighting over Pleasure Island. Jill, I know you're a fan of Tower of Terror as well. So was this the right call?
Oh, I absolutely think so. Look, I mean, here's my issue is that I struggle with, and I've said this before, I struggle with where's the line between the attraction story and the backstory. And I think with Tower of Terror, that's super blurry. I love the backstory of Pleasure Island. I think it's fantastic. I think it's such a great way to have created this entire world that is legendary to Disney fans. And it's legendary in part because it was a ton of fun, but it's legendary because it was so elaborate, and it was so much of why, it's so much of why we love Sea. It housed the Adventurers Club, and the Adventurers Club is this thing that we all hold on to and revere. I mean, Tom has said, like, the greatest accomplishment of his career was bringing back the entire cast of the Adventurers Club to do an event 2 years ago. So I think this was the right call. Tower of Terror is great, and I love it, but I from a backstory perspective, I think Pleasure Island is just so much more elaborate. It has so much care and love put into it. It tells so many different stories that are all woven together, and I love that.
Yeah, Pete, you fought so hard for it, you changed shirts during the show. So I love that. I love the commitment that you gave that one.
No doubt. I brought the shirt from home, hoping it would make a run, and it did. So I'm happy. Good old Pleasure Island shirt has done me well. And look at this handsome gent. Mwah.
Oh, the Fun Meister. Oh, so good. So it made it to the final 2. Did you fight all the way for it? Did you feel like you were in the right to get it there?
I did, honestly. So I didn't plan on that going as far as I thought there were better backstories going through the bracket. I thought there were going to be backstories that actually made it much deeper, that obviously people felt much more different than I did. Blizzard Beach is amazing. I think it belonged to be in the Final 4. But like I said, once Tom was like, there's no way Pleasure Island should be Blizzard Beach, something in my brain just said, what? And it just got reprogrammed to Pleasure Island must beat Blizzard Beach. So, but again, I knew that Pleasure Island wasn't going to win the whole thing. So at that point, it was just for fun. It wasn't like a case where like Cosmic Rays will win the whole thing. That was a debacle. Which if that's
I was
going
on
years
that
back,
panel.
What?
I voted several times for Cosmic Race.
Yeah, so Kamila, let me throw this to you. You were talking about the international parks. It looks like we got to the Final Four and only had one item of international parks in here. Was that the right call? Anything else that looked out of place in there?
No, I mean, I haven't had the good fortune to visit any of the international parks. Hopefully sometime soon when we can travel again. But I mean, the backstories really do sound amazing. It was a little bit tougher to connect with it just because I've never been. And so I think that was hard. I kind of wanted Blizzard Beach or Pleasure Island to take it all. But I honestly, I was okay with how it ended up.
Yeah. Patrick, I know we had a big problem with seating in the first March Madness. Was this bracket any better?
I think it was a little bit better. I still think there's a lot of improvements to be made. I think by putting maybe some things together like foreign park attractions or just Tokyo Disney Sea, so only one thing can come out of there and they can all beat each other up, might be more beneficial. You know, it's like back in the early days of the NCAA tournament when you had the East, West, North, and South, and you always had like Duke or UConn as the one seed in the East, kind of showing how they had, you know, the home court advantage throughout that run-up. I think we really do need to work a lot on the seating, and that's part of my rules. And if you're a Whig, you will get my rules in the post show.
Man, is it too late to sign up for Wigs to be able to get into the post show? Because it's well worth it if you're not a Wigs member. I mean, this is going to be exciting stuff. All right, so Tower of Terror, Tokyo Disney Sea was the winner. I mean, I feel like there was some other stuff that, like Blizzard Beach, all through the tournament, everyone talked about it being so good. Like Pleasure Island, I thought from the beginning would be one that would go all the way. And honestly, I thought the Adventurers Club would go at least to the Final Four, and it didn't even make it there. So let me go once more around the panel and say, Patrick, like, are you shocked at what didn't get in there? Tower of Terror, were you ever convinced that this was the right move?
I don't know if that was the right move. I always held tight to something from Disney Sea was going to win. I know how much Tom holds that as probably the best example of a Disney park. I thought Pleasure Island wasn't going to do as well because I thought those votes would have been more towards the Adventurers Club. I didn't think about taking the story of Pleasure Island as a whole. Honestly, I learned a ton about it. I only went there once, and I had a very good time. So I don't know any backstory there. I don't know any front story for that matter either.
Yeah. Jill, well, how do you feel about those?
I mean, I love Pleasure Island. Some of my favorite Disney memories are Pleasure Island memories. So I was 100% happy. I was surprised, but I was 100% happy to see it go as far as it did. I think it deserved it. The things that I was stunned about were on the right side of the bracket. From the way Tom had been talking prior to the competition, he was like going on and on about Dino Land, and he was going on and on about Critter Country and how they were both such great backstories, and neither of them made it past the round of 16. So I found that strange. I also found it strange that he was so anti-Skipper Canteen, that he really thought Big Thunder Mountain Phantom Manor should have beaten Skipper Canteen. That really surprised me. I think that was one of the ones where Nick voted Skipper Canteen, and then Tom was like, no, you voted wrong. I don't know. I mean, it's the thing I really enjoyed about this bracket is the fact that, like, once we got past the first round of 64 and narrowed it down to even 32, all of the 32 have really good backstories. And this made me like, it was a really great reminder of just how great Walt Disney Imagineering can be when they put the effort into a good backstory. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't even always translate into a great attraction or a great land or a great resort or whatever. But it's so much of what we love about Disney World and all the Disney parks that the backstories are such an integral part of what we enjoy in Disney parks.
I did think it was funny when Nick finally goes, all right, y'all have won me over to Pan Galactic Pizza. And they're all looking at him going, nope, that was the wrong move completely. Pan Galactic Pizza. And he's like, well, you've been talking about it the whole time. And he's like, yeah, but it's not as good. And then the same thing, that moment when Skipper Canteen / the Jungle Cruise flipped that Big Thunder Phantom Manor, I think Tom looked visibly hurt that had happened, that one was removed. I mean, and even so, but Nick had said early, like we didn't make it the thumbnail for this show for nothing. So I think that it felt like maybe that one was supposed to go all the way and didn't.
I really feel strongly that that's a great backstory. We very rarely see a backstory like that tie together two attractions. And they're both really great attractions. I think that also Jill kind of hinted at a little bit, but didn't say it outright. I think sometimes the quality of the attraction, the quality of the land comes into play when it shouldn't. It's just all about the backstory. So, Dino Land, I think, does have an amazing backstory, and it's well-themed. Just because it's a piece of crap that just sits out in the sun doesn't mean the story's not great.
Yeah. No, for sure. Kamila, what do you think? Anything that shouldn't have been there? How do you feel about the outcome?
No, I thought the outcome was fine. I thought the ones that ended up in the final 8 and even the final 4 were good. It's interesting. Pleasure Island was one that even as a kid, I kind of got that backstory. And so I was happy to see that it went as far as it did. I agree, though, with Skipper Canteen. I really think that one is so unique in how it ties. And there's just something kind of, I don't know, like not everyone really knows what Skipper Canteen is. And so it's kind of like, if you know, you know. And it's because of the backstory and how it, and the story and how it ties to everything. And there's not that many things in Disney. I guess that's not really true, but it's so unique in how it kind of all ties together for Disney fans. So, yeah. But in the end, I mean, they're all fun. I would love to see more info and I felt like these backstories could have been their own, 15, 30-minute video, and I would have watched that, and it would have been so interesting. And it would have been an easier way to digest all these backstories, because it was a lot. Yeah, for sure. Well,
I was going to make that point, too, just if I can make that real quick, is one, I think you guys made the point last week on the show that we definitely shouldn't do 2 in 1 month again. It should be one. I mean, this could have been a really great opportunity to really educate the audience, and even some of us didn't know what some of these backstories were. And we work for WDW News Today. So this could have been a really cool opportunity to the audience. And also, too, I think one other thing is that to me, the only downside of having, this Tokyo Tower of Terror win is I think just a small percentage of our audience has even been on it, let alone know the backstory, which is kind of tough when you are doing a big news show where you're supposed to be including everyone and all this inclusion for your audience and have them playing along. So I think the right thing to do is either to fly us all to Tokyo next time, or maybe we should stick to rides that are more well-known, or at least a category. We don't know what next year's March Madness will be yet, but I think something where people are more passionate and most people know what we're talking about, or give us the time to educate the audience, that would help as well.
I think next year's March Madness is best food at Tokyo Disney. I think that's probably what it's going to be. Yep. So the winners, again, Tower of Terror, Tokyo Disney Sea was the winner of this one. The previous one, the Nautilus. It's over. We're done. So we've been doing 1-hour shows. We're going to go back to 30 minutes next week, but we do still have a post show for our WIGS members. Jill, anything you want to tell people about the WIGS program?
I want to remind all WIGs that this week is the last week of post shows at all levels. Just to remind you, if anybody has questions or issues, email wigs@wdwnt.com. We also just started last week and will continue for the next several weeks posting some awesome high-res scans of Tokyo Disney calendars from the last 15 years that Spencer has supplied for us. Super exciting.
Maybe we can send them the backstory. We can learn some of these backstories.
Yeah, you know what? I will try to get a hold of the backstory documentation that Tom compiled for this show and ask if I can share it with Wigs. I am putting that on my Wigs to-do list right now, and I will share it with you all as long as Tom allows.
Just one more time.
Wait.
Nope, just needed to hear it one more time before we ended because it's just, I mean, it's iconic. Nobody?
Everybody take a drink.
Scott, leftover coffee.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on ParksCenter. We appreciate you. Thank you so much to our Wigs members. We will see you in the post show. Everyone else, we will see you next week. Have a great week.
See you, Akko.
Dun, 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 dun.
Wah, 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 wah.